Exactly.
Exactly. So welcome to this panel about 2D to 3D. Of course, we'll talk about the metaverse and all of this stuff. As first, I would like to correct a bit. It's not just from 2D to 3D, because 3D is just consumption. What we are talking about is interaction. So in fact, we are talking about spatial. And now, my panelists, I'm lazy, so please introduce yourself. Cynthia, we start with you.
Thank you. I'm Cynthia Maller. I'm from Walmart, and I head up the 3D creative technology team. What that is we create beautiful consumer content, engaging, based in 3D. Maybe that's obvious, but yeah.
Hello, my name is Pinar. I am one of the co-founders and the CEO of Atlas Space. We are a Metaverse as a service platform for enterprises, for companies. We come from architecture background, and then we evolved into switching our lives from 2D to 3D and started using VR and immersive technologies. Today, we're serving to all of these companies and brands to find their purpose in their 3D worlds.
Good afternoon. My name is Vishal Shah. I lead the enterprise metaverse and AR VR business at Lenovo, which is one of the largest laptop companies, data center companies in the world. And we work on an end-to-end solution for the enterprise metaverse, which includes software, a complete ISV ecosystem, and cutting-edge hardware like the Think Reality hardware that you saw that Jason presented earlier. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, who does not know me will learn about me. I'm Jay Latta. I'm, traveling around, talking, introducing, and now hosting a panel. So thank you for your appearance here, listening to us. As soon this fog, I've not smoked anything. But let's start. So 2D. How was the life in 2D? This usual how we are buying stuff. Maybe start with you. Walmart was one of these with e-commerce and so on. So tell us a bit about the journey, this switch from 2D to 3D, all of these virtual assets, and what's next?
Thank you. I do want to, the caveat is when I speak, I want you to know I'm coming from this big retail organization and representing the customer. So when I say this is a new asset type, I know that it's not to you. But so I've been there about 5 years, and what I noticed was the sea change that happened when we started to organize around a new asset, which I don't think we've done. I mean, even mobile wasn't a new asset. It was this one, but it was smaller. This is a new asset type that is not only 3D, but it has all these dimensions to operationalizing around it. So that's been the biggest kind of shock to the system, is that everybody with whom I work, and maybe it's the same as other creative and merchandising orgs, they're just used to staffing, engineering, designing, UX for, we can call them banners for lack of a better word. They're just used to that and all that goes with that. I mean, Ashley from Ventana mentioned earlier about just the storage of a 3D asset. It's just something completely different. So that's been a huge leap. So operations might be boring, however, without it, we don't even want to talk about without it. So that's just a shock to the system there. Yeah.
So this tremendous disruption in the system, when you already start in the whole design towards the sale, maybe even towards the customer, having this from 2D, just from a single picture, having this 3D asset that is interactable. Mm-hmm. Lenovo, tell me, what is your role in this whole 2D to 3D to these virtual assets?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at Lenovo, we strongly, try to define the metaverse at a very high level as the internet in 3D. I feel we've been stuck in the 2D internet for way too long. Our actual natural interaction is in 3D. It's spatial, and we're stuck in these rectangular panels, right? Unfortunately, but now with the technology coming about, the visuals getting better, cloud technologies and 5G now coming along, we strongly believe that this is the right time for the content to be online and the content to be in pure 3D format. And we see this in 3 buckets. So one is around content creation. When you look at some of the tools like Unity and Adobe, what they're doing in terms of creating this content. The second part is the content, how you consume the content, right? In terms of the applications, having these 3D models in the cloud. And the last one is the content interaction, which is largely going to be through some sort of AR, VR devices. And now they're getting smaller, they're getting less power intensive, and they're probably going to be the same form factor as what you and I are wearing, so they're going to be more widespread. So we see this continuum of these 3 areas, and then of course supported by an AR cloud, by a distributed 5G edge system.
One thing that you've said in the beginning is very important. We had these monitors, this small window to the world, now being part of this world. Tell me, how do you enable, how do you help your customers, how do you help the industries to enter this area, to understand this spatial behavior versus the window behavior?
Yeah, sure. As I said, we come from architecture background, urban planning and architecture. So in our physical world, we say 2D perception through our eyes, we had this physical world, the gravity, the material science, there are limits of material, there are climates, geographies, there are borders, there are regulations, a lot of details. Our journey started in between all of these physical world that we define. We realized our customers of architectural projects had no ability, let's say, to imagine what their project is going to be like in the future. So we actually started from architectural projects into VR kind of immersive environments. In time, we realized, okay, the virtual environment, the 3D perception is limitless. We have no gravity there. We have no limits. We can run on Saturn or deep dive in a cell. We can scale ourselves. We can change our looks. So as long as we need to give a feeling and an experience feeling to our customers and partners, we are totally limitless. This is what we loved, and this is how we pull people to the dark side.
Cynthia, if you might imagine how the future of sales look like, however, we don't need to name it, how can you imagine that the future customer will interact? It's not just clicking, ordering, but really interacting with the stuff. Are there any kind of visions you can share with us?
No, but yes. So I think in retail, for sure, we want to sell merchandise. But from my point of view, from my team, I tell them your real job is to avoid deception. The real victory for us is to mitigate returns. It's a hassle, you don't trust the brand. So when I think about the future of shopping, the things that we can bring to it are things that would mitigate returns. And when you were little, you would run in a store and you were playing with something and getting in trouble. We've really always wanted to interact with products and play with them. So I think it's a combination of AR-based shopping, perhaps. I'm really, and this is not representing Walmart, I'm really looking forward to how holography can come into view in your space. Because I really believe that that's the ultimate sharing experience, rather than I configured something, I'm looking at something in a store and I want to share it and get people's opinion. I think you can have people come into your space and so whether it's clothing or furniture, and again, this is just me, not Walmart, I'm really looking forward to when the medium is the message. It's not something on your phone or your screen that looks 3D or even in a wearable, but it's really in your environment. So the future of shopping is where what I'm looking at is what shows up at my house or shows up in my virtual experience, the digital good that I bought, and that I can really see it from all sides, and if it makes sound, I can hear it. Touch, if anybody wants to solve touch, that's a thing. Here's a challenge. If we can approximate what it feels like to test a mattress or sit in a chair, we retire. So anyway, so that, right, I have some ideas, but so to experience the product, and you were talking about being able to drive cars, so when it can surround you and you can internalize it, that's a win.
Why should I then buy something if I can have just the hologram? Maybe it would be cheaper. It will not be worn out. I can change the color. I can change the shape.
But no offense, but if you sit on a hologram, you're going to end up on the floor.
Sure, of course.
I mean,
but if we can handle the haptics, the
Yeah.
touch, that maybe you are just sitting on a square block, something like this.
Yeah.
And the chair is just pretending to be a chair. So,
Okay.
Windows to the world, wearables, and so on. Can you imagine that we shift from this two-dimensional experience into the third-dimensional experience when we are wearing, let's say, a colored suit, something like this, that is not really what we are wearing. There are these guys somewhere with one of these booths with this pillow, with this pattern on it, that pretends that it's just augmented reality or mixed reality, however we coin it.
Yeah.
So that you don't really buy anything anymore, you just download the template and you wear this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the need for retail is always going to be there, but I think that more helps you kind of design your persona, what you like, and select it in real time, as Cynthia mentioned. This whole holographic experience, we've got a lot of retailers already experimenting with it, and we've got actual research that says that when you're dealing with shopping in AR, or a marketing campaign in AR, or if you look at a cereal box and have those same interactive games in augmented reality, or virtual reality for that matter, eventually 3D, the amount of time you spend on it is almost 3 times higher. The amount of knowledge you get out of it is almost 50% higher, right? And it leads to much higher conversions into sales. So we're already seeing that 3D in the sense of marketing, retail, and then going forward into digital twins and the enterprise has an incredible effort in terms of the ROI and the return that you get. So, we're strongly believe in that, and what Cynthia mentioned is about abandonment. Even if you can bring down the abandonment by 5%, a large retailer like Walmart would make about $10 billion in return just from that piece of software and that solution itself. That's the utility around it.
Okay. We have here many ideas. You have cool ideas. How can we convince the classic thinking industry when they reach out to you, hey, we want to be in the metaverse, however it looks like? How can we or you convince them to really go this one extra step, to be more experimenting aboard? Not just doing what the others are doing, but really to be brave enough. Do you have some kind of plan, some kind of secret sauce?
Yes, exactly. As far as we know, the very secret source of sales or happy employees or happier lifetime, it's all about better engagement and communication. There are very amazing engagement statistics in the world. Like, if people do not engage in the work environment, or people do not engage with their potential audience, the customers, they are way more closer to failing. So what we do is we are evaluating the company. For us, each company or brand is very unique. So they all have their own DNA. At first, we scan it. Then we find a way where they are missing this engagement point. For example, let me be more clear. We created a Meta bank branch for a bank. So what they do is, for the moment, all of their perfect information about their bank and service is on their website in 2D with texts or maybe images. But what we did is, we were directly putting person in a 3D environment with an avatar. At a first glance, that person realized what the bank does. Credit cards, credit services, ATM operations, transactions, customer service with one click. It's always a trouble to find not the AI, but the real person on the end of the phone. So at the first glance, in 5 seconds, a person understands what is happening and then follows the path. So their weight on the customer service or their understandability has increased a lot. Just like this, we're evaluating all the industries. We've got automotive companies as our customers. We've got big enterprises for whom we create their campus digital twins for their hybrid working or remote working employees to get to know the corporate identity or the feeling of the company, their values. You got retail examples, a chocolate factory. I mean, imagine you're working at a chocolate factory but have never seen that chocolate making line because you're working at a different department. But what we do is putting the person in an experience, that person himself doing the chocolate from beans till the package, and then gets the feeling. It's all about the emotions and engaging with the company. So we are pulling people to that immersion as long as we tell them what immersion is correctly.
Okay. Let's go back to Walmart and sales. So, when you already have all of these 3D assets for your products, why can't I, as customer, get these from you? Maybe if I'm buying something from your website, I want to have it as well, not just for in the real life, but as well as this virtual asset. I would pay a bit extra for it. Is this a model?
What would you do with it?
Let's say I have this one coat, whatever, that I'm wearing in real life. I want to have exactly my avatar with this coat that I've bought, even virtual. Instead of modeling it by myself, I could simply get it from you and pay a bit extra.
Well, I like the idea of that everyone is a content creator. So I think in order to create value for something like that, we have to figure out a way that they don't need any technology to do what it is you're saying. So I do think it's future state, but I do think we should share these assets. And you know, in some ways, when you go online and you can configure, I mean, everyone's been doing it, configure sofas, configure a room, that's in a sense, we're sharing those assets with you. We are already doing it. But if you say you want to have it and store it somewhere at home, or I'm pointing to like a black box, I think you should be able to have them, but it would be nice for us to help you figure out what to do with them. Because I would like to think that we could propose some really fun ways for you to use it rather than just have it. And then the best expression is when we have GLTF and everything is interoperable. Because if you get one from us and one from Target, if you have a shirt from Target and something from us and they don't go together, so great. Call me when you figure out how to, just kidding. No, I think we're sharing them already, I guess is the answer, in many, many ways.
Okay.
I mean, viewing your space, dynamic configuration, I think it's already there.
Yeah. But I think, Jay, you bring up a good point. I think in some ways that's the foundation of Web 3.0 and some of these decentralized ecosystems we're talking about, right? Especially when it comes to tokens like NFTs and digital assets. So you can actually combine a digital asset purchase with a virtual asset, and the value of that changes depending on, you know, whether, if I steal someone's Rolex watch, but if it's associated with a virtual asset that only I own through some cryptocurrency or a token, that Rolex means nothing, right? Same thing with a car that's stolen. So a lot of that is happening. Imagine if you believed in Metallica 40 years ago, you saw them playing at their San Francisco bar, and you bought, instead of buying a $1 CD, you bought a $1 NFT, and the virtual asset grew with the popularity of Metallica. Imagine what that asset would be. So you can do that now with art. You can do that with physical assets. So this is a great way to kind of bring those two together in this whole blockchain kind of ecosystem that makes it not only secure, but as Amy said, it also grows. You know, the value also grows with the growth of the artist or the growth of that particular ecosystem that you're in.
It could have, for example, additional benefits, like, for example, insurance. Your house burns down. No one's house should burn down. But then you have, of course, the physical assets are gone, but you have still the virtual assets. So for the insurance, it's clear this is how your digital twin looked like, this is what you had, and so on. So in my opinion, it could be an additional benefit that people would, maybe I would pay extra for it. So it means this digital twin of the products, of the assets that we are getting, these are small digital twins, they might become as well meaningful and have an own class of usability. So this means, for example, additional information about recyclability, circular economy, that you have your clothes, whatever, if it's a skirt, if it's whatever. Would I wear a skirt? No, I don't think so. But in your virtual asset, you would have this enrichment with additional informations. It could be a nice transformation towards a circular society if you have the full overview, your inventory of the stuff that you have. How can it be reused? What do you think about from Walmart perspective?
Well, I will say that very few of us go and buy a full wardrobe at once, except us. So I've often felt that in terms of what can I have a digital twin, it'd be great to have digital twins of my current closet or my current living room furniture, and then be able to add to that and, to add the value, right? So if it's smart, if it knows what I already have in my closet and can recommend things that go with it, and then to your point, then I can virtually try. I can go put the real pair of pants on that it knew I had. This is me talking, not Walmart. And then I can, then I can add to it. This thing about adding incremental items and value, if you can create that digital twin of what maybe is your whole house, but also everything in the cupboards as well. That'd be really nice. But for the Walmart customer, every penny matters. So if we can understand what they already have in their closet and recommend something that would match, and so add to that outfit, add to the value, that'd be a really nice use of those assets. Still, I think we're providing the engagement model to help them know what to do with it. But I really like that idea. But again, it's me, not Walmart. There's a lot you can do with that.
I can pitch it to Walmart.
A lot. There's a lot you can do, but I would really love to find a way that if we're making digital twins, that people can make their own of whatever it is they want. The closet is just one example. And then add to it so that they have some that they've made themselves, and then we bring some. So I think helping people make their own is important as giving them some that are already done.
It could become your expertise. It could become part of the lifestyle. So imagine you are having a car, you work as well with automotives, right? Yeah. First-hand car, then you sell it. You have if it's an NFT, whatever, you have this digital asset, but still memories, your lifestyle, everything is ongoing. You keep the NFT, you make a fork, however, so to the one that bought the car from you, he starts a new NFT, a new digital asset on this, can fill it with his own life. And you still have this kind of, I don't know if it should be grayish, but it's still part of your memory. Like if you open up an old type book with pictures inside, you watch them from time to time. I don't know how many people do this still, but it could be somehow this kind of spatial representation of our lives.
Exactly. Well, I call it time capsule.
Oh, cool.
I can capture any time frame of my life or any person's life. That also includes, let's say, my grandma who passed away last year, or that can be a very famous person of 3 centuries ago. So we can create the snapshots of their lives into that place and feel what is to be in their shoes, in their own environment. Or we can create our very favorite spaces. Although in the physical life we don't have it, we can create our virtual favorite spaces and tell people what we want to be, what we try to tell to the world, create specific concepts.
Okay. How can we make all of this interactable with cross brands you've mentioned, with different cultures, different devices? So it really means multimodality, interoperability. What do you think about standardization?
Absolutely. I think at Lenovo, we're big believers in standardization. We're big believers and supporters of OpenXR. You heard Brian Vogelsang from Qualcomm talking about the Spaces whole XR Snapdragon ecosystem that they've created that helps people plug into engines like Unity or Unreal Engine. So I think this whole interoperability, and in some ways, fundamental layer 1 blockchain technologies help you kind of provide the security layer there as well. So that's going to be the utopia. I mean, that's going to be either the making or breaking point of the metaverse as we define it, right? It's going to be this interoperability and people working on these open standards. Because again, if just like Web 2.0, if we end up into 2 or 3 silos or 2 or 3 major ecosystems that are controlled by a few companies, we're going to be in the same spot, and the metaverse promise will not scale to the extent that we want it to.
Standards to you.
Well, interoperability is one of our key, right now, the key, let's say, challenges. But we believe in the, let's say, market. We're all trying to create the same market growth by these industry partners, all the companies trying to develop all these metaverse spaces, blockchain technologies, and 3D virtual environments. So on our part, we try to pay attention to, let's say, use an avatar package, which dominity of the major of the other platforms also use, so that people don't need to change their physical look when they switch platforms. So right now, we observe that more companies, more brands trying to pay attention to this. So in time, we believe there will be a common language between creating these immersive technologies. Plug and play, like a Lego kind, Lego bricks, you know, for the 3D assets, for space creation, for your look, for the maybe music, for the smells, because it is targeting all of your senses, not only the vision. So, yeah, that's pretty much
Cynthia?
what happens.
Interoperability?
Standardization.
Yeah, one leads to the other. So I'm trying to remember if it was October of 2018 or 2019. Those of us on Kronos came together. I think there were 50 of us. It was like, how do we create the JPEG of this era and avoid things like Keynote versus PowerPoint or Flash? How do we create that? And it was really great because there were people in the room that I normally wouldn't be sitting in the room with, like my counterparts at Target and Amazon and Lowe's and Williams-Sonoma and IKEA, and then there were publishers, and then there was software. And we really just set aside all of the competition, and we said, if we don't talk about this now, we are going to have a problem. So we decided that GLTF, this was mostly a real-time conversation, but that GLTF would be a standard, and I'm really encouraged to start to see that take hold. And standards are going to make a lot of people very uncomfortable, because I think about the word not just about the technology, but about, for instance, when we have the full metaverse vision come true, when you can really traverse from one to the other, what is the standard going to be for customer care when it's across many brands? So the standard of care, standards of technology, standards of brand experience, people are going to get really uncomfortable, because for me, standard means sharing across, and that's not something that retailers are great at. It flies in the face of what we're trying to do, which is not standardized. We're trying to be unique brand, as opposed to another. So standardization, I look at it way beyond just a technology. And we're all going to have to get a lot nicer to one another on behalf of purveyors and citizens in the metaverse. I'm along for the ride. I can't wait for it, but whoo boy, it's going to be interesting.
Last question to everyone, so prepare. If I could snap with my fingers and do whatever you would like to have, concerning this topic, of course, only this topic.
I was like, gosh.
What would it be?
If you could, or just like...
If I could snap and simply this topic, 2D to 3D or spatial, enabling your business, how you would like to go along with, what would it be?
Well, I would like you to remove the perception that this is scary and superfluous and transitory.
Okay.
For whoever's thinking that.
Well, that would really help us if we had any kind of tool or method to directly copy a 3D object into my spaces immediately as is. There are a lot of technologies right now. They're getting better, much better than last year's. You're taking a couple of photos, it's trying to make it in a virtual environment using some photogrammetry techniques or some LiDAR techniques. But still, we need some time for them to be, you know, like this quick and this perfect. So that would be a really nice wish from Santa.
Yeah, I think, you know, to me, a couple of things, right? One is I would definitely like to...
Just one.
Oh, just one. I mean, to me, remove the hype, right? I think someone mentioned that we're in peak hype cycle right now of the metaverse. To me, as a CIO, as a CTO, as a plant manager, no matter where I am in the spectrum, whether I'm a marketing manager, keep it real about not the novelty, but the utility of Web 3.0 and the metaverse, right? So having those conversations up front. Otherwise, just like crypto is going through a meltdown, the metaverse is going through a meltdown because of the hype around it and not having the right kind of outcomes that we think about and the utility that we think about, and then just follow, you know, the next golden goose there and kill us all, you know?
Look, the sad thing about the metaverse is people talk about it and they have Ready Player One in mind, they have the Matrix in mind, and only a few ever read Snow Crash, because Snow Crash describes an inclusive, a diverse landscape. It's about mixed reality. It's something beautiful where you can, from your real reality, interact with the data space. So now that I've said it, now that it's recorded, done. Is there any kind of question from the audience? We have 2 minutes. Don't force me to come down and to pick one.
Yeah, my question is about security. Security is the bane of the internet, and now we're entering into the metaverse. And what's the real solution that you guys are looking for security?
Who wants to start?
I can start. I mean, at Lenovo, for example, for us, security, our ThinkShield brand, being the #1 enterprise PC provider, to us, that's top of mind, right? So what we have is we've created an end-to-end trusted supplier program for the metaverse as well for all our products, both in terms of our SSRB process, our interoperability process as well. But again, I think with every 5G, when we went from 1G to 2G to 3G to 5G, the attacks kept going up. And now with the metaverse and 3D, that problem is just going to get exacerbated. So it's not going to get easier, it's going to get worse. And that's where I think interoperability is going to play a big role. How we deal with avatars, how we deal with some of the underlying blockchain technology is going to be a big part of that as well. And I think, as Amy mentioned, blockchain is a pretty elegant solution in some of these areas. So that's going to be a part of that as well. But again, you know, that's something that's top of mind, and it has to be a complete trusted supplier program that you work across as an organization to make it happen. It cannot be just piecemeal. And that's why when we work with ISVs, you know, like Allspace, or when we work with a particular supply chain vendor, we make sure that we put them through the entire gamut of our security process before we give them our Lenovo ThinkShield brand. So I think we're trying to bring some of those same standards into that, but the standard's going to have to be much, much higher because of the threat.
Okay, 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7. Answer was good? Okay, fantastic. Sorry, you can't answer anymore. One last thing. Let's work together that the metaverse does not become the metaverse. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
Okay, great.